Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with another Lost Ark video slash guide? Sort of guide. Today's topic is going to be about alts and why this is such a hot debated topic. Everybody seems to be talking about it, and there is... I don't know if there are misconceptions around it, but there are definitely a lot of people that are questioning, should I play alts? How many alts do I need to play? Or why should I technically play them? So, without further ado, there are 4 topics that I want to be covering in this video. The first one being gold, the second one is going to be about materials in general. Then I'll quickly talk about a few sources of shillings. And last but not least, Affinity and Eponas, because all of these things definitely tie in with the alts. As usual, table of contents is going to be in the description below. So let's jump right into the gold section. So let's talk about the gold thing. Now there are 2 main sources of gold that I want to mention here. The first one being the Void Dungeons, the blue pillar. We've talked about this quite a bit of time, but the main, or one of the main reasons you actually want to do those is going to be for gold. And the second thing that I highly recommend you do on a weekly basis on as many characters as you possibly can are going to be your Abyssal Raids. Obviously, if you don't have the item level, you gotta do Mystic. If you do have the item level, you're gonna do Kaiser. Even doing Kaiser phase 2 nets you a decent amount of gold every week, so I highly recommend doing this. Now, in order to kind of visualize, I prepared a little spreadsheet, basically the spreadsheet that I already have. So, going over here. So these are all the Void Dungeons and all the current Abyss Raids. Like, remember, this is basically tier 2. Papanika is about to be released. So obviously this chart is going to be extended, but needless to say, these are the numbers that you currently get. I specifically made an example out of my current alt situation, so this doesn't apply to everybody, but I just want to elaborate and show you why these alts, or how much of an impact they would actually have compared to only running my main. So right now my main is item level 1050, so I will be doing these Void Dungeons here and Kaiser phase 4. Kaiser phase 4 nets you total 1300. All 3 voids in Peyton grant you 1600. So this little section here is what my main can earn every week by doing his void and his abyss raids. And this like, there are no more voids and no more abyss dungeons and abyss raids that I can do to gain more gold. There are other gold sources not necessarily linked to alts, but these are easy to do. They are not time gated, as in you don't have to be at a specific island at a specific time. You don't have to be at a specific place on the ocean. You don't have to log in to do chaos rifts. There are multiple sources of gold, but these things can be done as early as you can wake up, as early as you can find a party. They can be done in midnight, they can be done in steps. It doesn't really matter. So these are definitely the main sources that you're going to be working on every week. So, needless to say, this is the sum. 2,900 gold is what my main is going to earn from his Kaiser 4, phase 4, and the Peyton Voids. This adds up to 100% of my gold earnings. If I get another alt, and all of my alts are level 870, so obviously there is some work that has to be put in. But just for the sake of this example here, my alts are doing these voids because they can't do Peyton yet. And right now I managed to do phase 4 with my alts as well. So my alts will get 1000 from voids and another 1300 gold from Kaiser phase 4, which adds up to another 2300 gold per week. If we add those 2 numbers, we add up to 5,200 gold. So just by having one single alt and doing these activities, these 2, I will get 180% over 100%. So an extra 2,300 gold. Or basically just having another character in my roster and spending, let's say, half an hour every week doing my voids and my Kaiser. So this is already an increase by 80% compared to your base earnings if you want. If we go to my second alt, the same rule applies here. 1000 extra from voids, 1300 extra from Kaiser phase 4, so that's another 2300. If we add those 2 numbers we add up at 7,500 gold. And if we compare these two, you can see that we're at 258%. So a whopping 158% extra gold compared to just running my main. And if you go compare it to the third alt, we're ending up at an additional 237% extra gold. So compared to my original gold earnings, if we take these numbers here, this minus that, my alts in total make me an extra 6,900 gold every single week if I do these activities. Like, they don't passively gain this income, obviously, but just goes to show you that by playing multiple characters, and I say characters, not classes, because if you don't like playing any other class besides Lance Master, Devil Hunter, Soul Master, you can just make multiple of them. I don't really enjoy the idea of playing four characters of the same class, but with different gear. But if you really don't like any other class, you can always just make multiple subclasses or multiple sub-characters of the same class. So you basically play the same class over and over again. But this just goes to show of how impactful alts can be, because this basically ramps up from barely 3,000 to almost 10,000 weekly gold, and this will carry you a long way because gold translates into upgrades, into possible upgrades. They will allow you to, or gold allows you to progress your estate further, and the material section, which I'm going to be covering in just a second, you can just buy materials for gold as well. So gold is an overall and probably the most important resource in the game. So just by having these alts and just by doing as little as these activities every week, you can see how much of an impact they can actually have. Jumping over to the second topic, and those are materials. Now, I mentioned it a little bit at the end of the first section that gold can't be translated into materials because we can buy a lot, if not everything you need in order to upgrade your character. And if we go to the auction house here, basically enchant materials are there to readily be bought, be that armor crystals, be that these books, which I don't think we really need, be that emerald or sapphires of Syrians, or be that Giovanna crystals or crystals of Syrian. All of these materials are needed when it comes to upgrading your gear, and as you can see, all of them are available, including auxiliary mats or sapphire shards. Everything is available for gold. So single-handedly said, if you have gold, you can progress. If you don't have gold, you pretty much won't progress. That's just how the game works. Needless to say, why alts also help you to farm materials. If you take a look at Chaos Dungeons, you remember or you see that you drop a lot of these gears, and then you also drop large weapon crystals. These are bound, but these two aren't bound, as well as a few other things. So, if you take a look at my warehouse, at my storage here, you can see that I piled up almost 20,000 large weapon crystals, and these are 1, 2, 3, 4 full stacks, and roughly 45,000 large armor crystals. This is just by running my Chaos Dungeons on my alts, dismantling any gear that I don't need, and transferring them over to my expedition barrels, because my alts are essentially at a point where they don't need any further gear. They're good enough to clear voids, they're good enough to clear Kaiser, and they're good enough to clear Chaos Dungeons. So they don't really need any further polish because I'm not planning to do any main source of content with them. But they will still net me all of these materials here. Now these materials can technically be just used by yourself, so if you want to push your main, you can do that just fine. But you can also just sell them. So if we take a look, I'm going to take the stack out here. And if we were to take a look at the auction house, so let's click on sell, you can see that the average price right now is 3.8, but I think they currently go for as minimum as 5 gold. So let's check if you want to buy. Yes, the cheapest one is 5 gold. So we're just going to enter here. Price per bundle is going to be 5. So selling this full stack here actually would net me 5,000 gold minus some tax and stuff like that. But you can see that not only do you get materials that you can use for yourself, but you actually get to sell them if you don't need them. Because right now my main is basically past soft cap. I will be able to transition to Papunica. And with Papunica being so close, I have no need to actually use these materials, but I'm keeping them in case I want to boost another alt, or I need an extra bit of gold. I could just sell them. Needless to say, some of these materials are bound, so not everything is tradable, but these things are definitely one of the biggest additional gold gainers that a lot of people sleep on. So remember this, materials are not bound, at least not every of them. Some of them are, like I said, these for example are bound, but not every of them is. Last but not least, there are a few things that I want to mention here that technically ties into the materials section, but is a little bit more, let's say, convoluted or hidden. And those are guild exchange, PvP exchange, and C-coin exchange. So we're just going to go over to, where is it? The Silmel crystal exchange, basically the guild exchange, because et voila, you have a plethora of materials that you can actually exchange for Silmel crystals. If you're wondering what these are, you basically get those by doing guild activities. If you, for example, take a look here, instructions, if I were to do this one, I will get an additional 530 Silmel crystals. By giving guild support, you get some Silmel crystals, yada yada yada. So basically doing guild stuff nets you these crystals. These crystals are not bound, and they are character specific. Keep in mind, not everything in this thing is character bound. For example, this thing here, it says in gray here, and I'm going to show you an example of how to determine what is character bound and what is account bound. But I'm just going to buy, just for the sake of showing you this, I'm going to buy one stack here. These aren't bound. I can now take them and put them onto my alts, or I'm going to show you just in a second what I do with them on my alts. So remember this one. The other thing that a lot of people are forgetting are PvP tokens or token of courage, because basically the guild shop and this shop here is very similar. However, these materials are bound, so this is only available for each character that you buy it on. The token of courage, though, is an account currency. So these tokens are exactly in the same amount available on my alts, and since my main doesn't need any of these, I'm not going to buy anything right here. But should I need any of these materials, I could buy them on whatever character I need them. So to actually elaborate a little bit further, we're going to hop onto an alt to show you what I mean on why the guild store is also something to not sleep on. And the more alts you have, the more access you have to it. There's one thing that I like to mention here as well, though. Having alts, you need to put them either into the same guild if people allow that. Usually what happens is there's going to be sub-guilds. So these guild crystals are actually character bound. This is where it gets a little bit confusing with what's character bound, what's account bound. But this is basically all, like, once you understood the system, you're done. So we are here on my alts, and my alt, for example, is in a different guild, but they also have access to stuff like that. As you can see, I just got my stuff here. I will get more Silmel crystals for doing this and another batch here. So this is also something you should be on a daily basis. But needless to say, we're just going to check out the guild store here. As you can see, these things here are available as well. We're just going to buy them all. These things are personal. Everything that says personal is bound to your character. So these I cannot trade. These I can. We're just going to grab these. We're just going to grab these as well. Large armor crystals. Let's grab this one. And I think we're done with everything that I want to buy on this character, at least. So what I would do now, or what I'm going to be doing now, is I will put these materials back into my storage, because I don't need them, or at least I don't need them right now. Going over to the PvP exchange again, I actually need to go down there for that. So let's TP quickly there. This is, like I said, where it gets a little bit confusing, so you probably have to rewatch this video, but basically the rule of thumb is guild stuff can be put into your warehouse, but guild crystals are account bound. PvP tokens are account bound, but the stuff you get for PvP tokens is character bound. And this should be clear in just a second. Because if you remember that number, 7,664 tokens was the exact same number that I had on my main, but these things are personal. So if I were to buy one of these, I will not be able to put this into my warehouse. So this is something to keep in mind, because like I said, it says this item cannot be put into my warehouse because it is personal. So this is how it goes to determine what is available for you, what is account bound, what is character bound. It needs a bit of doing, but you can figure this out fairly quickly. Last but not least, currently we have a Winterfire token event. If something below this one says legacy limit, that means it's going to be account wide, meaning I can only buy these two items on one character per account. If I buy them here on my Lancemaster, they will not be available on my Devil Hunter because you already bought them. So just to make that clear, we're just gonna quickly jump over to my Devil Hunter. And here we are on my Devil Hunter. Where's the event NPC? There it is. No Riga buttons. Actually, there it is. Winterfire tokens. This was just an example to show you how to determine what is, like I said, account wide and what isn't. So going to the Winterfire token rewards, as you can see, this one is now grayed out because I just bought it on a different character. There are also multiple sources such as Tower or even Pirate coins that follow similar rules, but this is just really, it goes to show that ALTS will benefit you in the long run because you get an extra amount of materials that you can either sell, use for yourself, or use for different characters. Going over to the third section, and this one is going to be a little bit quicker, we're going to be talking about Shillings. Believe it or not, Shillings are actually another gate that you may run into while upgrading your gear, because upgrading, transferring takes Shillings as well. Usually in late game you have sources set up, but just to tell you two of the biggest sources, Chaos Dungeons also net you a fair good share of Shillings. So doing Shillings on multiple accounts will actually grant you more Shillings overall, especially since Shillings are account wide. Remember, a lot of these currencies are account wide, so every alt contributes to this amount. If I log onto any of my alts, they will have the same amount of Shillings, so any Shillings that they farm will actually be going to my main bank account, if you will. So this is something to keep in mind. The other thing that I want to mention when it comes to Shillings is something that I will show you on my alt. I think this is very common knowledge, but not everybody knows it, and it's a very quick, easy, and effective way to earn an additional amount of Shillings. And I think, no, this is actually not the character that I want to jump on. Give me a second, I need to switch. So this is the character that I wanted to jump on, my Soulmaster, and if we go to the daily tab, you can see that I have Parcel Pulse for Arthentine, Northburn, and Shoeshire, basically the so-called Lopang dailies, or headquarters of the Wind Roses. As you can see, all of them actually reward me with a little bit of Shillings, but if you do them every day, and I'm just going to show you how quickly you can do them with the right setup, this is definitely something to keep in mind when it comes to extra Shillings. Every alt can do these, as they require no combat activity whatsoever. So it doesn't matter what item level they are. The higher, obviously, the better, because the higher they are, the more gold, or the more Shillings, it's not gold, it's silver, or Shillings, the more Shillings you actually get for doing these. So all you're gonna do is talk to these 3 posts. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna meet specific NPCs on each of those continents, and that's all the daily that you're gonna do. Needless to say, if you do this by traveling with ship, this will take a lot longer, but we have the tools in place to teleport around. So yeah, use them. Like legit, this is one, if not the single-handedly most important tool when it comes to optimize your routes and get some extra Shillings. As you can see here, we're done with 2. Now we're gonna go to Burn Castle, where the third one is lying. I don't know, I think the whole process takes me about 1 minute, maybe a little bit less. I didn't actually stop the time. I suppose you could just take a look at the clock in the video, but basically telling you that shillings are very easy to come by if you do it regularly. A lot of the gains in this game are obtained through endurance and perseverance. Like, you're not going to be hitting a jackpot very often, or most of the time, but these things, like I said, doing this every day on multiple characters takes like what, 10-15 minutes depending on how many you have, and this nets you an easy, quick and sufficient income of a lot of the resources that you actually need. You just need to be doing it every day, or at least on a more or less regular basis, because otherwise you're gonna be falling short when it comes to that. Anyways, this is all about shillings. Let's jump into the last part for this video. So I'm on another alt because I'm going to be talking you through a different set of dailies that I highly recommend that you would be doing. So this is, like I said, the Epona section that ties in with the shilling one, but we're not going to go for shillings but cornelians. In case you're wondering what cornelians are for, they are used to buy affinity items, and affinity items are basically, well, used to boost affinity with NPCs. And I think this is important because some NPCs have rather good rewards hidden behind affinity, including collectible items such as iron hearts, giant's hearts, other things such as artworks. It's definitely something to keep in mind, because affinity is a very vital thing when it comes to progress in the game. Like I said, this is something that you can do very quickly. As you can see, I'm just going to be TPing around, and once you have your route set up, like this is obviously initially you're gonna walk to the place or sail to the place, you gotta set up your teleportation place. A lot of people have been asking me how to open this book. The Book of Wanderings is opened by pressing Alt W, or if you, where is it actually? Under the Adventure tab down here, teleportation. This is how you open the book, and then all you gotta do is basically save a location. It saves the exact location where you, like if I press on save there, it's gonna TP me there. So remember that. And that was it for my second Epona. As you can see, all of these are very quick to do. We're just gonna do a quick detour here to do my affinity. And in case you're wondering, like I said, these are affinity items, and as you can see, to fill this bar up, you can use additional items that you can actually buy using the cornelians that we just farmed. So this is another thing where alts can be a tremendous boost when it comes to optimizing the progress, helping you progress faster, and just remove a lot of the roadblocks, because doing all of these activities on your main, you can only do so much, because you can only do 3 Eponas every day. But every character can do 3 Eponas every day. So by having 4 characters like I do, I can do 12 different Eponas every day, meaning I can farm shillings, I can farm cornelians, or I can do progress, because some of the Epona Dailies actually unlock content such as new ships, some of the collectibles such as giant hearts again, or other things. Everything is locked, or not everything, but some things are locked behind Eponas. So this is definitely something in order to remember. As you can see here, we are up to be finishing my last daily on my alt. And as you can see here, once again, this is very quick, this is very easy, this requires minimal effort, this is really not difficult. And this is why I like doing it that way. Obviously, there might be different routes, there might be even more optimized routes or things that I do. But this is basically almost everything that I do on my alts, and I do have another video where I basically show you my daily routine on what I do on a daily basis with my characters. I will probably make an updated video once it comes to Papunica, but right now this is more about explaining why you definitely should consider playing at least 1 or 2 more characters. Like I said, if you don't like any other class, just make the same character or the same class multiple times and just do what I did in the video. Park them at specific places, do your Island of Headquarters, the Headquarter of Roses for Shillings. Do the dailies I just showed you for Cornelians. Do your Chaos Dungeons for additional materials. Do your Voids for additional gold. And you will have a much easier and cleaner time to progress. Anywho, this is all for my why you should alt video. Needless to say, you don't have to. You can play the game perfectly fine, but you're going to be limited at some places and points in time. So, I do hope this was helpful. If there's anything else, feel free to let me in the comment section down below. Last but not least, I stream on Mondays, 1700 CST, so if you want to check me out live, I do stream other games as well. Not only Lost Ark, feel free to do so. The Twitch channel is also in the link in the description below. Last but not least, stay healthy, stay safe out there, and I will see you guys next time.